And joining us for this week's Political Roundtable are Senator Verna Jones, Democrat from Baltimore City, and Delegate James King, a Republican from Anne Arundel County. Thanks to both of you for being with us.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks for having us.
Let's pick up on the budget topic. The last round of cuts was at the end of July. Another round of cuts coming up at the end of this,
August, yeah.
This month. Delegate King first, do you approve or disapprove of the way we're handling this situation?
Well, I think you got to make the cuts. There's no other way around it. I don't think the citizens of the state can take any more tax increases. It's time to roll our sleeves up and really attack this issue. The Republican caucus obviously has been saying this for close to 4 years now. We wanted to shrink the rate of growth in the state of Maryland and in the budget. I voted against the budget for 3 years in a row. I think at the end of the day, we got to figure out what our priorities are, and we got to make some serious, drastic cuts. I think the cuts that have been made so far have not gone deep enough. It's an election year. I recognize that everyone in Annapolis is trying to do the best that they can, not to offend and not to hurt as many special interest groups that are out there. But at the end of the day, it's time to make real tough choices.
Yeah, I agree with you. We can't really pay attention and please everyone in special groups, just like we can't please all the businesses. We can't please any because they are a special group too. So there will be some revenues that we're going to be looking at raising, because there are plenty of places that we need to be looking that we have not raised taxes in the past, such as alcohol. That hasn't been raised in over 33 decades. That's you have to really look at these taxes that have not been raised. But you know, the cuts that are coming, they are going deep. They are hitting the bone. You're starting to look at live bodies that are being cut. We have been trying to be cutting vacancies before, and we've been cutting services. And now when you're talking about cutting livelihoods and individual so that they don't have the income to put back into the economy, we're cutting pretty deep to the bone.
The legislature's budget analyst, Warren Deschenaux, said this week that fewer than half or less than half of the cuts that were just made were ongoing cuts. There were fund transfers and that sort of thing. Is that a valid criticism?
Well, some of them are ongoing. You mean one time? There were a lot of several one-time cuts, and that doesn't have impact in the long term. But there. So we still have to look at, you know, $400 million possibly being proposed at the end of August. And then we're looking at 2011 budget, where you're talking about even more, you know, cuts that are going to come into play because the economy has not rebounded the way we wanted it to. Yes, it has done some small, you know, changes where we're at least being stable, but, you know, there are more cuts coming down the road.
I think, Jeff, if you look at the letters that Warren Deschenaux has sent to the legislators in Annapolis, the word unsustainable sticks out in the last 3 letters that he's written. And our spending is unsustainable. We can't do it any longer. We have a lot of unfunded mandates in the state of Maryland. Part-time unemployment. We just took $129 million in stimulus money from the federal government. That's going to be gone in 3 or 4 years. Yeah. We're still going to have to fund that program. So I think it's a mindset that needs to change in Annapolis.
Well,
we need to stop passing policies that we don't have the money for.
Just like the federal government sends us unfunded mandates, you know, during the last, 8 years, we had a lot of unfunded mandates. And I think that, you know, being on the Senate Budget and Taxation Committee, that we look at where we can do the cuts so that it doesn't hurt individuals. And we are trying to really look at making provisions so that we aren't dependent on stimulus money, short-term stimulus money, and making sure that we put sustainable proposals and projects in place. And that we have to keep doing it.
Did the legislature drop the ball to any degree on the budget this year? Because the session just ended in April, and then almost immediately after that, we have predictions of new deficits, shortfalls, and we're back to budget cutting. Should the legislature have handled this and not left it for the Board of Public Works?
Well, no, we didn't leave it for the Board of Public Works. We made all of the cuts that we could make at that time. We did not anticipate that things would be as bad as that they are. Yes, Maryland is in a lot better situation than other states around the nation. However, you know, people don't have jobs. They don't have jobs, and they can't spend money in the economy. And we're just keeping focused on, well, we can't do this and we can't do that. We can't raise taxes. We can't increase, fees upon individuals. We have to look at all of the possible solutions and not just think about cutting to the bone.
The governor has a website looking for citizen input on suggested cuts, and I think there's a deadline on Monday for that, and you can find it on maryland.gov, the state's homepage. Any cuts that you would like to see considered?
Well, I think, your statement of did the legislature drop the ball last year, I think the answer is yes, and I think the legislature has dropped the ball the last 3 years, quite frankly. We've seen this economic times worsening every year. We've continued to grow the rate of spending by 4% pretty much every single year. We can't do it any longer. As far as where the cuts should come, they're going to have to come across the board. I don't think we're in a situation right now where we can pick one or two areas to fix this problem. These have to come across the board.
Exactly.
Everyone's going to feel it, and it's the unpopular things that it's transportation, it's education, it's our police and fire. Everyone's going to have to feel this.
It's interesting when you make a statement like that, saying that everyone's going to be feeling the pain, and then you make the statement, oh no, we cannot raise revenues, we cannot raise taxes. Then that's talking up to me both sides of your face.
Well,
I mean, or the situation.
There's two ways to solve a deficit. You can raise revenue, or you can cut spending.
And you can't
I
do
advocate
both
for
of
cutting
either
spending.
one. We have to look at both of them.